This episode is brought to you by HP Plus. In a world full of smart devices, isn't it about time your printer got smart too? Now printing is smart with HP Plus, and the HP Smart app is how it all happens. You can print from your phone with just a tap, no matter where you are, even from your garage/home office/yoga studio. Huh, that is smart. HP Plus. Learn more about smart printing at hp.com/smart.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the latest episode of All Too Real 2. My name is Michael E. Cullen II, and with me, as always, is
Matthew, collectible business shop house.
That sounds like a very corporate name.
It is. Well, corporations are people now, so I figured, I could start cashed in on that. So
okay, cool. So, yeah, we watched a pilot.
A TV, not like a pilot, but like a TV show.
Oh, shit.
Oh, you just watched a pilot? Like, what, you just babysit him or something like that?
Yeah, I went to the airport, and there was this pilot. He was kind of lost. Went down to the Toledo Express Airport, and it was just kind of hanging out with him. I was just watching him, and he's like, "Why are you staring at me, dude?" And I'm like, "I'm supposed to watch a pilot." So, and then, I changed his diaper, and wait, what?
What kind of airport is this?
I was babysitting a pilot. He was a genius. He was like the Doogie Howser of pilots. He was only like 1 year old, and yes, because planes basically fly themselves nowadays too, so you can just put a baby up there and it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, it's totally fine. I feel very comforted now. Basically just autopilot.
Yes, autopilot.
Autopilot error, no.
Yeah. So, the show that we're covering today is a show that was created by writer Chris Parrish. We don't know the exact title of it. It's either Old School or what was the other title?
Well, it said True Originals on the video.
Okay, so it's either True Originals or Old School. And then there was a pilot that never aired. It was produced for the UPN network back in 2003. So, yeah. And it starred John Krasinski, Natasha Lyonne, Jorge Garcia. It also had Tessie Santiago and Ken Marino.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. A lot of people who are actually really good actors. Yep. So, this was prior to The Office, and before Lost for Jorge Garcia, and I think shortly after American Pie for Natasha Lyonne. So, yeah, this was kind of a Natasha Lyonne vehicle, So, yeah, so what happened in this episode here, Matt?
So they kind of, they're in a shop she owns. Forgot her name. What's the character's name?
Wow.
Wow.
Okay. Wow. They have it wrong on IMDb. It says Sarah, but I know that's not her name. I think it was like Irene or something like that.
That's right, Irene.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right, so Irene, she owns this like collectible shop, and John Krasinski's character, don't care what his name is, he works there. He works there with her, and apparently they've been friends for a long time. So obviously he works at her store because that's how that always works. And it's like a poor store. They don't really make much money because they're joking about like, oh, I'm going to be able to keep my car parked in the meter for 15 more minutes if this guy buys something. He buys like a Pez dispenser and he's been there for 2 hours, and that's a whole joke because you were here for 2 hours, now you paid for something for 50 cents at my store. I'm poor, it's funny, you get it? And then like this woman walks in, and she's turns out that she went to high school with Irene, and she was like the super popular like pretty girl, she like homecoming queen, prom queen, that whole thing. And they keep doing this weird thing that I didn't like, where like every time she'd like have some memory, it would do this weird like upside down thing, like where like, but they did it like every single like they overdid that way too much. Like it was like, okay, it was funny the first time, we don't need 35 times of this. Like
and it was kind of funny that like in some of the flashbacks, like Jorge Garcia's character was in one of the flashbacks, and he was wearing the same costume that he was wearing in present day.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's like, wow, so he doesn't change his clothes apparently. But the other thing too, so they all went to high school together, and then they all work at her shop.
Yeah.
Like, wow, like that's either she's just a very generous friend who gave these two guys, work, or there's something stupid about this plot. But so she wants, and her name is Jennifer Martinez, who is like the bane of her existence or whatever. And she wants to invest some money into being a partner into the business because she's worried about, the stock market or whatever. So she'd rather invest it, directly into a business. And they get into this whole thing about like, oh, you don't remember me, do you? Blah blah blah. Oh, were we in any classes together? And then they're in like 8 different classes together, and she doesn't remember. And then they do the weird film upside downy thing again, and then for like the 80,000th time. And you could probably tell I don't like this episode, but
yeah.
And she's like sneezing a whole bunch, and like nobody's paying attention to her, and she's like, giving her a hard time for sneezing. And then Jennifer just does like a little tiny sneeze, and like everyone's offering her a tissue, including the teacher, and it's like, I get it, because she's pretty, so she got special treatment. We haven't done this story to death 5 million times in cinema and TV history, but let's try it one more time. And then so she agreed. She needs the money, obviously, so she agrees, to let her be a partner in the business on the condition that like she's Irene's like the main, she's the boss, type of thing. So what else happens?
At some point after they, start doing this, a bunch of guys are in there to see Jennifer because, she's hot and stuff like that. They all come in there to buy things because she's there. And she's giving them deals and stuff and getting them to come back all the time. And there's like, even one of the guys in there is like a guy who I think guest starred on Big Bang Theory a lot. So,
yep.
Yeah. So, because this show kind of has a Big Bang Theory feel to it in a way to me. It's interesting. Then some like hot guys come in to the store who are like Irene likes one of the guys played by Ken Marino, who you know from Party Down and Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Wet Hot American Summer, among other things, you know. So, The State. Anyways, he's like, you know, they're like these hot guys that know Jennifer from Pilates, and then they ask Jennifer and Irene to go out clubbing that night or something. And so yeah, after they buy a used old football video game for half the price that they should have paid for it, because Irene is like all flustered and shit because she's attracted to Ken Marino's character. And so yeah, they gotta go out to the club that night. They invite Jorge and whatever John Krasinski's character's name is. I can remember Jorge's character because Jorge Garcia plays Jorge, so it was easy.
Right?
Yeah. Jorge decides to stay and watch the shop while they go to the club that night, because I guess this shop's open all night or something. Because, you know, you never know. It could be like, you know, 11:30 at night, and you really need to buy yourself a, you know, like a Grease poster or something, you know, or a, you know, a Dr. Zaius action figure or something. You know what I mean? But the what the fuck? Why would this place be open so late? This is like a place that would be open, in my opinion, from like, you know, 9 in the morning until like 6 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
You know. At the most. And
yeah.
But you never know. You know, your collectors, they work 9 to 5, so they need to come and, you know, buy shit at 11 o'clock at night. And yeah. So he's watching the place. And he's saying, he said, "I'll watch the place." And he's like, "Yeah, because I need extra money to buy pot." And then he, you know, says, "No, for something else." I can't remember what he said. And then he says, "No, for pot. Really, it's just for pot." Yeah. So, yeah, they go to this club, and Jennifer's able to get them in because she's, you know, cute and all. And so they go in there and they meet the guys there. And yeah. You want to take a break, Matt?
Sure.
Oh, God. This show is something. Alright, we'll be right back after this message, people.
What is Gen X? What is the silent generation? What do generations have in common? Hi, I'm Trish the Dish from the Gen X Voice podcast, and I invite you to listen to conversations I have with folks from different generations, backgrounds, beliefs, and experiences in an attempt to see what connects rather than divides us. Even though Gen X has been called slackers, Karens, or not mentioned at all in some cases, we are the bridge generation, so I feel compelled to do my part to destroy ageism by bringing all these voices together. And, as a bonus, each guest gets to answer some 80s questions at the end of each show. So download and listen to Gen X Voice today on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And let's see how much we have in common after all.
Hi, this is Catherine, host of a new fashion podcast, The Real Fashion School Dropout. Join me as I interview guests every week in the fashion and beauty space, and we gossip on all things fashion and beauty, and even get into some personal stories of their journey in the industry. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, pretty much wherever you get your podcast. Hope to see you there.
And we are back. Back in Black.
Back in Black? No.
All right, no, we're not going to do that again.
Nope,
anyway,
nope.
AC/DC sucks. Anyway, back to this unaired pilot here, Matt. So the kids are all at the club. You know, at the club.
Like you do.
Like you do. Anyways, so they're there, and John Krasinski's character, who is like the dork of the show, he's trying to dance at the place, and he's like horrible at dancing, and he knocks over shit and all this other stuff, you know, like happens. Anyways, he goes to the they meet up with the guys there too. The girls do, and they go out dancing, and Ken Marino's character is dancing really weird. Like, getting all up on Natasha Lyonne's character. And, yeah, and so, John Krasinski ends up going to the bathroom. And while he's in the restroom, he overhears, Ken Marino and the other guy that he's with talking about how, he says, like, yeah, Ken Marino's character's like, yeah, I want to stay with her because, you know, she's like basically easy and we can basically have sex, you know. You know, the other girl's too pretty to want to have sex or something, you know, like, because that's how it goes, right?
Right. Yeah, I didn't know that. So, like, the levels of attraction are somehow go hand in hand with how much you want to have sex. That's a weird. Okay.
Yes. So like, yeah, she's kind of desperate or whatever, and you know, and basically he's basically just using her to take advantage of her, and you know, and her virtue. Yeah, and John Krasinski's character overhears the whole thing. And then basically tells them, you can't use my friend. She's my best friend since 5th grade. Blah blah blah. And and he throws a toilet paper roll at them, and that's his way of things. Then he runs out there, and then he tells the girls what's up with this, you know. And so Ken Marino and the guys come out there, and they try to mace. Who had the mace?
Oh, it was Irene, because they because they were starting to leave, and then they wouldn't let John Krasinski's character leave because they were gonna beat him up.
Yeah, and so she pulls out her mace, and then she's trying to mace like Ken Marino's character, and he ducks out of the way, and then they accidentally mace John Krasinski. And so, you know, they're helping, and then they basically leave. Natasha Lyonne and John Krasinski's characters leave, and leave the Jennifer character there. And yeah, and then they come back to the place, and Jorge is like basically, you know, out of his element when it comes to working at the place, and he can't even figure out how to use the credit card machine. They tell, you know, John Krasinski comes in, and he's basically, I can't see, I'm blind, or whatever, blah blah blah, and Jorge's like, can I have your TV?
God, I hate when they do that.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
And so yeah. So
I hate this show.
so then, the girl comes back and she's like all pissed that they left her at the club and blah blah blah, and then she explains that she's not like some kind of rich Malibu Barbie type girl, and they at first there was this whole thing where they were going to break up the partnership, and then things happen and they find out that she's not like that, blah blah blah, and Natasha Lyonne decides to keep her on as a partner, and the show ends.
Yep. Just ends abruptly too. There's like no credits or anything. It's just like,
yeah. Well, it was a pilot that they probably
it was
unaired. So if it would have aired, they would have added the credits. They would have had a cool opening theme. They would have done
Yeah, a real title, because my thing, it just said True Originals. There was no it was just like regular basic font. Like there was no
Yeah, you're not going to spend the extra money on that shit until you know you're picked up, so.
Yeah, totally. I could totally relate to Jorge, though. Like, when he's like, phone calls with people asking questions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, that was, like, the thing I hated most about, like, the print shop was like, doing the printing was fine, but then it's like if my coworker left and someone called, I'm like, I don't like answering the phone. And like just like shit like that would make me so nervous. But let's say let's print 5,000 copies. Oh yeah, sure, it's no problem. Get that done in an hour or two, and then it's like a simple phone call. I'm like, I don't really know how to answer the question.
Yeah, I hate talking on the phone, too, so I understand that. Yeah. But I don't know why. Actually, I hate talking on the phone, but back when I used to be in customer service, I never minded talking on the phone. Like, I would answer the phone there. I used to make phone calls. I used to work at a Blockbuster Video, and when I worked there, I had to call up all the people that had late movies every like, we did it once a week or something, and I was the one that always did it. So, yeah. Yeah.
Well, maybe it's like a case of like being like quote in character.
Yeah.
Because technically, when you're working, you're kind of like a character in a sense. I mean, I know it sounds weird, but
it makes sense.
So like that's different than like at home, like I gotta call this guy or whatever, type of thing.
Yeah. Like even when I have to call my doctor to make an appointment or something, I'm just like,
I know.
I keep putting it off until the last minute or something, So, anyways,
see, for me, since I'm on ProMedica, I can just send a message making appointments.
Oh, yeah, I can too, but I'm just saying, like, in general, like, in the past when I had to. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, you want to take another break here, Matt?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we'll take a break, and we'll come back and we'll wrap things up here right after this.
Need a new podcast to listen to? Well, why not check out the Super Podcast from the Super Network at supermarcy.com, where we discuss films and pop culture, and we do monthly fan-voted commentaries. We are available on all major podcasting platforms.
And we are back. How are you, Matthew?
I'm doing better now that we're almost finished recording this episode.
That is awesome. Just go with that feeling, Matthew.
Yes. Okay.
That feeling. Eventually you'll find contentment. Breathe in. Breathe out. Welcome back to All Too Meditation with my colleague. Oh wait, no, sorry, that's my other podcast that I'm not gonna ever release. Anyway, so
it was like my idea that one time. No, I don't want to say it. It might be too offensive, sorry.
Yeah, we'll not worry about it then. Anyway, so
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So,
we'll leave that for another time, folks.
Or no other time.
Yes. Another time that's not being recorded. And final thoughts here, Matt. Do you think this show could have succeeded if they picked it up?
Yeah, I think if they gave it, like, I don't know, like, 6 episodes. They could have kind of built upon that. I think it has moments where it could have been funny, but then it just kind of fell flat. But not as flat as the Michael Richards show did. But and they gave that 8 episodes or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it could have been okay. It did seem kind of, I don't know what the word is, constricted is the only thing I could think of. Like they were holding back almost. I don't know. And,
I think with a little bit different, like time given to it, and like maybe a little bit of rewriting on this, it could have been a good show. You had a good cast, at least, with Jorge Garcia, Natasha Lyonne, and John Krasinski all being good actors, and so is Tessie Santiago as well. So, and they've all gone on to do other things. Like she was on Scandal for years and stuff like that. So but it's one of those things like when you watch something and you're like, what would have been? Like who would have played Jim on The Office? Who would have been Hurley on Lost? Things like that. If this show would have been picked up. Because like if this show was still going, they couldn't have done those shows. So
yeah.
So we'd be living in a parallel universe. I want to go to that parallel universe where John Krasinski wasn't Jim on The Office.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the show probably wouldn't have lasted because you had to have the right chemistry for that show to make it. So yeah. Same thing with Lost. So yeah. It's interesting. So, yep. So, would you recommend anybody watch this pilot? I mean, that hasn't watched it already. That's just listening to our show. I did release the pilot there on our page on Facebook on our All Too Real 2 podcast group, and we had one comment. Carmen Miller said that it was like awful, and that she's just glad that John was able to bounce back from this. So, yes. So
yeah,
good thing that John Krasinski was able to do The Office and the other things that he's done since. So yeah. Anything? Any other final thoughts here, Matt? Before we wrap things up.
Well, Jorge, now that you mention it, he was in a really cool... It's not really about the show, but he was in a pretty cool movie that came out, I don't know, 2-3 years ago maybe. It's called The Healer. It's on Netflix. He plays a priest in the show. It's a really interesting movie. It's like... it's about this dude who's like... He's like from Britain or whatever, and he's kind of like... just like a philanderer, he kind of like has like this shop that he works at where he kind of like fixes things or whatever, his life's going nowhere, that type of thing or whatever. And he owes a bunch of people money, like, bookies or whatever from gambling. So then he gets like this long lost uncle that shows up and is willing to like just wipe all of his debts clean as long as he moves to like Nova Scotia for like 1 year or whatever. I won't really tell him the reason why, but it turns out it's because like he has like this like natural healing abilities that can like heal people from like sicknesses and all that kind of stuff.
I'll check that out.
It's really interesting. Beirut actually is the one that told me about it, and but yeah, Jorge plays like a priest in the thing, and he's like, he kind of like, at one point he thinks this guy's like a, being like a false prophet, like coming to town claiming he can heal people, that whole thing. It's a really interesting movie though. But yeah, he's in it. It's pretty cool.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah, he's a good actor. I mean, he was on the last season of Becker as well after this aired, I think. Or before this aired. I can't remember which, or unaired, because this never aired. Not sure. But he's a good actor. Yeah, so, I don't know. Anyways, people, make sure you check out our all2real2.com for any links to all of our cool stuff. I did just start a TikTok. I don't know what we're going to do with it. If there's anything you want us to do with it, let us know. It's All Too Real 2 podcast on TikTok, so check that out. If there's anything you want us to upload on there or anything that might help us and you want to follow us, just follow us on there, Don't know what we're going to do with it, but, because I don't get the ticks and the talks. Do you?
No, I mean, be honest, I was lost by the time the Grams came out, so I'm really old school, you know. Facebook is as new as I go, really, so...
yeah.
Yep.
So we'll try to figure out something to do on there. Maybe do some behind the scenes stuff once we start recording again in studio. Or whatever. We'll do something. With it.
Yeah.
But make sure you check that out. Check out our Facebook, our Patreon, our TeePublic. All those links are in the show notes or at all2real2.com. And, if there's any shows that you find that you want us to cover, let us know. Send them to me at mike@cullenpark.com. Or if you have any other suggestions for future episodes, let me know. And, be kind to each other, people.
Mm-hmm.
We all are in this together. Yes, we are. If you don't like your enemies, just force them to watch bad sitcoms.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't hurt them. Just make them watch bad sitcoms.
That's a fitting punishment, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just suggest them to them really, enthusiastically. Say, hey, you really got to check this out, buddy.
Yeah, pretend for a second like they're not your enemy at first. Oh, hey, all that stuff's under the bridge, no big deal. Hey, man, you really gotta check this out, and then they check it out and they're like, this is terrible. Yeah. Then you cut them off. No contact whatsoever, you delete you block them from, social media, they can't come back and yell at you. It's nope, you're stuck with this now.
Yes.
You're stuck with the memory of watching this.
You will never have that half hour back again.
Nope.
Yep. So, that's what you do to people, okay? And, until next time, bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to All Too Real 2 podcast, a Cullen Park production. Produced and edited by Michael E. Cullen II. Music by Matthew Hawes. Subscribe and share the show. Visit us at cullenpark.com.